difficulties with the last ones. We appreciate those of you joining us again. You want to wait at all, or do you think? Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. We've got some slides we'll go through, trying to cover some basic information. I plan on getting onto the website a little bit and showing some functionality of the ERP as well. There we go. So you may see a couple different names. Years ago, we had actually, as the Ohio Fire Chiefs, had decided to rename the system from the Emergency Response Plan to the Emergency Response System. That hasn't necessarily transpired through some of the website information that we've used with the state. So those two names are actually synonymous, but most likely we'll call it the Emergency Response Plan. That's usually what you see on the website. So the basic objective is to provide all of Ohio's jurisdictions with a quick and easy way to summon some additional resources once your local mutual aid capabilities have been exhausted. So it's not meant to replace anything that you're doing currently, but to help you when you have a major event and you need some additional resources. The ERP went live, started functioning in 2002. We average 2 activations each year, although we do participate in a number of local and state exercises. Some of the most recent events that we participated in, we'll discuss this a little bit later, but we've helped identify resources for responses to Hurricane Jose and Maria through EMAC. That's not an objective necessarily that the system was designed to provide, but because of the communication network that we have been able to, in the past, help provide some information or some resources for EMAC. So we'll discuss that process a little bit later. It's a little bit different. We did, our last activation was August 15th for the Van Leeuwen Fire Department in Hancock County. They had a pallet company fire with 3 buildings involved in several piles of shredded wood. Previous to that was December 8th of 2016, Laurelville Fire Department in Hocking County. They had a 4-alarm fire at the Hocking Hills State Park Lodge. We sent equipment to that, and we also helped backfill some of the local fire departments in the area. So the ERP is really about a lot of collaboration. We've got a good partnership with 3 state agencies. Through the Department of Commerce, we collaborate with the State Fire Marshal's Office. Through the Department of Public Safety, we collaborate with Ohio Emergency Management Agency and Ohio Homeland Security. You'll see this screen again. We were broken down into 8 different regions, and we follow Ohio Homeland Security planning regions. So we'll bring that up later, and you'll see the makeup. Each of those regions has 2 regional coordinators, and then in turn each county has a county coordinator. If you're not familiar with who your county coordinator is, it's important to know what region you're in so you can contact one of your regional coordinators. Guiding principles, like I said, basically to provide a simple method to, and it actually says activate large quantities of resources. That's not necessarily the case. You may have an event that you need some specialized resources that you don't have available in your area, and we can help provide those. And keep in mind, it's meant to complement any other disaster plans that are in place. It's not meant to replace anything, but to assist those, so whether they're local, state, or national. And then the beauty of this for Ohio, it's one system. Whether you need some immediate short-term assistance or long-term assistance, we can provide that with the ERP. We have 4 central dispatch agencies that we utilize: Columbus Division of Fire, Hamilton County Communications, Metropolitan Emergency Communications Consortium, and the Toledo Fire and Rescue Division. Each of those, we have a schedule where they are primary, have primary duties, and then we have backup, and that rotates every 2 months. The number that we have, and you'll see the number later, to activate the system system actually follows those agencies, and we can actually transfer it on the fly if we need to. If those agencies are experiencing their own major emergency and are unable to handle an ERP activation, we can switch it to the backup or to another agency as needed. Each of the 88 counties has a county coordinator who mainly oversees the data input and also helps to coordinate how the county will respond. We also ask them to make sure that the departments and the dispatchers are properly trained. If you don't know who your county coordinator is, we'll pull the map back up. All you need to do is contact your regional coordinator, and they should be able to put you in contact with your county coordinator. Each of the 88 counties has one designated center, dispatch center, to be the primary point of contact when there are requests for that county. And then you'll see in through there, we leave it up to the county to decide how they will actually respond. Something to keep in mind, we recommend that if possible to be done on a local level, we never want to request more than 50% of a specific resource. So that way we want to make sure whatever that resource is, we don't deplete a region. So we'll talk about that through there a little bit. We try to do it through the plan, but we also ask people as they're inputting equipment information to try to keep that into mind. So the units can respond individually or as a task force strike team. The staffing can come from all one department, or if you need to, you can actually do members from various departments, and the Ohio Revised Code provides us protections to do that. This is just a quick snapshot from I believe a couple months ago, so you can see what resources we do have identified in there. It will change slightly from time to time, but the one thing to keep in mind is so Ohio collaboratively has offered over $1 billion worth of resources that are available when somebody experiences a major emergency. So if you want to be part of the system, and you're not yet, so you need to contact your county coordinator. We do like to try to inventory all of the resources in Ohio, whether or not they are participating in ERP. And depending on your numbers of equipment, if possible, then we ask you to kind of consider that 50% rule and never obligate more than 50% of a specific resource. If you don't have access to SIMs and you would like to be able to monitor or watch the ERP, you'll need to have an account through the Contact and Information Management System, and I will show you how to do that. It's a very simple process. In our partnership with the Department of Public Safety and Ohio Homeland Security, they provide IT support for us. So the ERP follows or actually goes through a SIMS portal, which provides us with a little bit of security protection. Another piece of the plan, like I mentioned earlier, is the Emergency Management Assistance Compact. Ohio's ERP was not designed necessarily for this, but we have been successful in communicating and identifying resources throughout the state. A couple pieces of information that you'll need to know if you're considering actually being part of an EMAC process. There are two pieces of documentation that you will need to complete. One is an intergovernmental agency agreement, and that needs to be executed between each governmental entity and the state of Ohio, and that's what allows the state to send that governmental entity's resources out of state. The other one is a mission-ready package that is basically a cost estimate of what it would take to send personnel and equipment to out of state for a certain amount of time. And obviously you need to know some of the parameters, how far you would be going, how long the request would be. So it takes a little bit of time. The confusing part of this is it's not a simple process. If you've done it once, I think it's a little bit easier to do. We're going to work with Ohio EMA in the future to see if we can simplify that process to make it a little less cumbersome. This is the, and I will have a hyperlink to it later, but this is the initial login page for SIMS. If you, midway through the screen there where it says if you don't have a SIMS account, it's easy to sign up. You can pop it up and fill out a simple application. That will go into the SIMS administrators, and they will set the system up, set your account up, and then you will get a follow-up email from them. Once you're in, on the left-hand side of the screen where we have it circled, you can see where the Fire ERP is. If you've not been in SIMS before, you will see there are some messages through there and some postings as to relevant information from Ohio Homeland Security. So if you're asked to respond for the ERP, a couple things you can do is log into the website, and you'll obviously have to go through SIMS. Confirm that your county has been requested to send resources. And this may be a process that you do through your county coordinator. They should have information as well. You want to identify what resources are requested for your county. Now, we do identify specific resources because the system is based on distances from the emergency. We do allow you, if a certain number of resources are requested from your county, we allow you to respond however you have pre-designated, and I will cover that in some upcoming slides. So whatever your procedures are for dispatching, and that's, we don't dictate how you do that, whether it's by radio, pagers, phones, whatever the case may be. But once again, we ask that you don't commit more than 50% of any specific resource. So information that you want to relay to the companies that are responding. We have two types of responses, and these are just generalities. We have a scramble response, which is meant to be more immediate. So we hope that the resources will be en route within 30 minutes or less, and should be expected to be deployed for 24 hours or less. Then a standard response would be where we would expect the resources, give them a little bit longer time to respond, and expect to be tied up for up to 72 hours. I will tell you, in our previous activations that have gone on for multiple days, multiple operational periods, we have actually been able to rotate resources in and out. So I don't know that we've ever had resources that have been deployed for more than 24 hours without being switched out. We also want to relay the staging area location. We will normally utilize marks. For those of you that have marks capabilities, we don't necessarily utilize it for command and control, but we will try to utilize it for responding equipment and staging, location, and demobilization if needed. There should also be a code word that is generated from the ERP. This is just basically meant to be a security process or security step to try to help eliminate any self-dispatching. So while en route, we suggest that each resource stay in contact with their home dispatch or department so they know, so everyone's aware of what's going on. We ask that you try to maintain accountability as best you can, so records of costs, personnel, those types of things. If you do have the capabilities, it would be good to gain radio contact with the staging manager. So this is the 888 number. If you need to request the ERP, simple number, that's the number that does transfer around with the central dispatch agencies. And like I said earlier, if we need to, if a central dispatch agency is handling their own local emergency, we can internally transfer that number so another dispatch agency will take over. So that's the only number that you need to know to request an activation for the ERP. So if you make the call, some things you'll need to be ready to answer is obviously who is hosting the emergency, the name of the affected jurisdiction, who is actually calling, and the call could come from an incident commander, could come from the fire chief, could come from an EMA director. In some certain circumstances, it's possible it may go through the state EOC if it's an event that the EOC has been activated, or it could come from a county EOC if there's a need there. But we obviously want to know the name of the name and rank of the caller, and then a callback number, because I'm sure that there will be some follow-up questions. We'd like to try to know who the incident commander is, what the emergency is. We obviously need to know the type and number of apparatus or personnel that are needed, the location of a staging area, and keep in mind that the staging area needs to be well identified, I guess. We keep in mind that you're bringing in resources from outside the region. They need to be able to find where the staging area is, and it would help to have easy ingress and egress. We also need to know what type of response you're requesting, a scramble response where you're going to get the equipment quicker for a shorter period of time, or a standard response where you're given a longer time for the equipment to respond, but expect them to be on the scene a little bit longer. So what you will get when you activate the ERP, we generally will send regional coordinators to assist with ICS, and it's mainly meant just to be a liaison between the incident commander and the ERP resources. We can fit into the ICS structure if there's a need. We don't try to, but if we have had that happen before where the incident commander has needed help. We will also assist with communications. This is mainly for our ERP communications, but we do utilize marks. We don't necessarily get marks personnel that respond, but they are notified of any activation so they can monitor radio usage. And we've had a lot of success, whether it's a BSSA unit or another type of a communication unit. We have had a lot of success when those have responded to the incidents, and that maybe even if it's not something the incident commander would use, we may have some of our ERP personnel use it so they can help. We try to document as best we can the resources that are responded through the ERP. And then keep in mind that obviously due to the enormity of the event that you're going to, you want to be prepared for large amounts of resources. So if you're responding to the call, if your department or your specific resource has been activated, make sure that you know the code word. Obviously have your crew assembled, and depending on the event and what type of resource you're responding, you want to make sure that they're properly equipped. Know how to get to the staging area. It would be good to have a communications plan between your county's resources that are responding, and then also with, if possible, through marks so you can communicate with the staging area. And as best you can, we hope that you can keep accurate records for deployments such as the ICS Form 214 in case there are potentials for possible reimbursements. So you want to know personnel, equipment, time, those types of costs. I don't believe that up to this point, any of our activations, I don't think we have ever had anybody that has submitted a bill for reimbursement. We kind of would depend on the emergency itself and what declarations were made. But in a case, if there were reimbursement possibilities, we obviously would need to have those costs documented. So once on scene, you need to check in at the staging area, make sure you are informed of the communications plan. And it may take a while, but hopefully you will get an assignment. When you're in, if you're for the EMS assignments, we ask that you follow your local protocol and stay within your own certification levels. And once you've completed the assignment, you can check back in and ask for a reassignment. And then when released, we ask that you check out officially through the staging area. Here again, we're trying to document time in and time out for our responding ERP resources. So some key points to remember. The complexity of the incident will require discipline to prevent freelancing. We really try to eliminate any of the self-dispatching. You have to remember that these assignments may appear to be of little value, but they are a part of a larger picture. And when those assignments come in, we hope that they're accomplished in a timely manner and relayed back through the incident command system. Always stay within your certification and experience levels. And remember that assignments will be based upon an incident action plan and require strict compliance. Something to remember is you will be counted on to participate as part of your specific unit, and any variance could complicate like the incident action plan or what the incident commander has established. So this is the big one. So I guess we need to remember that the requesting department is having a once or twice in a career incident, and they're counting on additional resources to help them mitigate this incident. So what can you do for the system? If you want to participate, establish a relationship with your county coordinator if you don't already have that. Review your information on a regular basis, make sure it's up to date. Contact information as well as resource data information. It would help to make sure your local dispatcher is aware of the system and trained on what it is. And then also make sure your personnel are trained so they understand if the call comes in the middle of the night, you may not be, or their chief officer may not be around. We need to make sure our personnel are trained on how to respond. Big piece would be develop a county response system. And here again, we leave that up to each county. We don't dictate how they respond. So a couple ways: you do an exit gate system. You strategically determine exit points, and your units can convoy to a disaster from those exit points. This may allow for better communications while en route. There's also, you could do a leapfrog approach where maybe you take the first department, you skip the second, take the third, skip the fourth, and etc. That way, since your resources will be somewhat depleted in the county, you're strategically determining where they're coming from. And once again, remember, it could be a group effort. You could have multiple departments contribute personnel to staff a specific resource. So this is the link to the SIMS login page. Can I get that? Okay. Can I make that bigger? So I'm going to log in real quick. Oops. Well, let's try that again. Okay, so we saw this screen earlier. This is where if you're into SIMS, this is where you can get some information from Ohio Homeland Security. And here is the Fire ERP button on the left-hand side of the screen. We're going to skip this. Is just an inventory request. We're going to skip there. This is what would generally come up if there's any system news. It would be right there. We do a communications check monthly, so there's normally a message. It's generally about the same message, but it would be up there. So you can see some of these other buttons down here. You most likely, as a responding unit, wouldn't have access to all of these buttons. They depend on they're dependent upon security levels. Some interesting information in here that I think you, as a local responder, could find handy. You can get in and look at county contacts. I'm just going to go through one real quick, and so it kind of shows you who is listed in there as, in this top part, as coordinators or EMA directors for your county. And then it will actually list some, it should list all of the departments down through here. If you ever find that your department or somebody else's is missing, please let your county or regional coordinator know so that we can make sure they are added in. So this resources by agency, and I'm going to pick on First Consolidated because they come up first all the time. So you should be able to pull this up as an agency head or county coordinator, and obviously regional coordinator, and look and see what resources are inventoried for each agency. So this is the total. This column is the total of what's available normally in stock, I guess, or available for First Consolidated. The total available is what they have committed to the ERP when they're available, and this last column, it was added a few years ago. This is the EMAC column. We are not totally utilizing that right now, but I think we're going to try to formalize that a little bit more in the future. So if you do have a resource that you feel you're willing to at least consider sending on an EMAC request, you can actually add that there too. That doesn't mean it's going to be automatic, but at least it gives us an idea of what's available. So as a planning tool, the resources by region or county is an interesting tool. If I can pull this. I needed to switch regions. So this just tells us in a region 2, here again, following the same format as the individual agency. It shows us, let's just go with this top one, ALS. There's 208 total ALS units in region 2. 79 have been made available to the ERP, and then 35 have been available to EMAC. So if you're looking for a specific resource, so in this, this can be adjusted. You can go down and look as the resources are typed, and either do it by statewide or by region or county, or by individual agency. So this tells us that statewide, what we have inventoried for ALS resource in Ohio is 1,250. 468 have been made available to the ERP, and 70 are available EMAC. Another neat planning tool is the resource by distance. So if we want to, let's go back to those ALS units, we want to see who the closest ALS units are to, and there's a drop-down box, so you can drop down whatever department you want to. We're going to stick with First Consolidated because that's easy. And so this would show us by distance all of the available ALS units to First Consolidated Fire District. So we've used that before planning for evacuations, or just to see what numbers of resource, how close within a certain number of miles a specific resource was. So that takes us through some of the functionality of the ERP. So once again, this is the 8 regional, or the Ohio Homeland Security planning regions that we have. So it follows, our regional coordinators follow those same planning regions. So if you do not know who your county coordinator is, and you need to contact your county coordinator, make sure you know what region you're in. And then here's a list of the regional coordinators that correspond with those regions. So those are the regional coordinators that can put you in contact, or they can either answer your question or put you in contact with your county coordinator. Are there any specific questions?
I don't see any questions. I think there's a button that you can raise your hand. I think we can unmute you if you want to ask a question or if you want to type one in. Maybe. Yes, we can make the PowerPoint available. We'll send it out to everyone who attended today's webinar. Additionally, we'll take the PowerPoint presentation. We are recording it and we'll put it up on our YouTube channel so people can watch it as well.
And also, if you have specific training requirements or needs, and or want to utilize the ERP for an exercise, you can always get a hold of your county coordinator or regional coordinator. They can come. That's something that we will get out and actually help with department trainings or county trainings or regional trainings.
Well, thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar, and we'll get those materials out to you before the end of today.
Thank you.